Hello everybody, here we are for another lesson. This time it is about Unit 1, Ethics in Business. So what do we mean by ethics in business? Ethics means the moral values that should be respected when doing business. So in today's lesson we are going to see one of the ethics that is not respected. Okay, so let's start with the first picture. So, chocolate. Do you love eating chocolate? I suppose your answer will be, and who doesn't? We all love eating chocolate, especially children. It's such a pleasure eating a bar of chocolate. But did you ask yourself the question, what is the essential raw material to produce chocolate? Have you got an idea about this? Yes, of course it is the cocoa beans. So the cocoa beans come from a tree. It is a cocoa tree. This tree grows in tropical regions. So it can be found in South Africa, in countries like Côte d'Ivoire and Guinea. And it can be found also in South America. So the cocoa beans are taken and reduced into powder, and they are used, of course, to produce the chocolate. Another question. Have you ever wondered who is behind the manufacture of this delicious chocolate we all love? Interesting question. Try to think of this. Now, let's watch a video about the cocoa farms in South Africa, then answer the previous questions. Okay, here is the video.
Chocolate, dose of happiness in one bar. But have you ever imagined that it could be a cause of child misery? Recently, consuming chocolate has spread widely. People living in the leading chocolate-producing countries eat on average 10 kilograms of chocolate per person per year, while thousands of children are working as slaves in cocoa farms. Over 200,000 children are working in Côte d'Ivoire's and Ghana's cocoa industries. They are forced to perform strenuous manual labor from 80 to 100 hours a week. They are hardly fed and are frequently beaten, especially if they attempt to escape. Their families send them to work because they can't afford school's expenses. Ivorian law does not prohibit trafficking in persons, while Ghana is making weak efforts to tackle this crime. The well-known brands can't guarantee child labor-free chocolates. So what is the solution? Both Ivorian and Ghanaian governments need to put more anti-trafficking units in place near their cocoa growing areas. Both countries must control cocoa farms and prohibit child labour under harsh conditions. The well-known chocolate companies must stop importing cocoa from farms that rely mainly on child labour.
So, the answer to our question, who is behind the manufacture of chocolate, is, of course, the child. Children are behind the manufacture of chocolate. Now, answer the following questions according to the video. So, just to have you get more details about this video, have a look at the questions. How can chocolate be the cause of child misery? Why do parents send their children to work? And finally, which solutions are mentioned in the video to stop the exploitation of children? Of course, you can stop or pause the video and go back and see the video as many times as you want, and then write down the answers. So the answer to the first question is, chocolate can be the cause of child misery because many children work as slaves in the cocoa farms. Next one. parents send their children to work as they can't afford their school expenses. They cannot pay their school fees, okay? So they send them to work. Now, what about the solutions? The solutions to stop the exploitation of children or child labor are that the governments, Ivorian government and Ghanaian government, must control the cocoa farms and prohibit child labor. Also, famous companies must stop importing cocoa from farms that rely on child labor. It means farms that exploit children. Okay? This is concerning the video. Now, let us have a look to the following questions, to the following pictures. Okay? So as you can see, the pictures here are put in a form of chain, all right, one after the other, all right. This is called supply chain, okay. So we are going to have an example here of a cocoa supply chain. So the story of the chocolate here starts from here, in the cocoa farms where children are being exploited. So these children are being exploited by small traders. So when the children gather all the cocoa beans, the traders take them and sell them to exporters that export them into different countries. And in the next picture, you can see here that the cocoa beans are being roasted and ground. It means they will be reduced into powder. After this, they are sold into companies that produce chocolate. Okay, so once the chocolate is produced, it is taken by distributors to, of course, distribute it to different food services and shops, and finally it reaches the consumer. Okay, so the question that we have to ask here is, do you think that the consumer knows that there is a child behind all this chain? Do you think that he knows this? Maybe not. Do you think that this company that is producing chocolate knows that their suppliers, okay, those who supply the cocoa beans, those who provide them with the cocoa beans are called their suppliers, okay? So do you think that they know that their suppliers are exploiting children in the farm? Well, maybe they know and they don't care, and maybe they don't, so they need to do something. So the question is, what can businesses and consumers do to fight against child labor? So for this, to answer the question, of course, we need to read a text. And then you check your answer to the previous question. Here is your text. So take the necessary time to read it very carefully, as many times as you want. And then check the answer to the previous question. So the answer is, according to the text, of course, that businesses can commission social audits to know exactly who is making their products. And consumers can influence the businesses to ensure there is no child labor involved in their supply chains. All right? So the first solution is that businesses can commission social audits. So what is the social audits? It's a kind of inspection, okay? They engage someone to go there to the place and check to see whether children are slaves there, something like that. And the consumers can influence the businesses to ensure. So how can they influence? Consumers can simply stop buying their products if they know that children are being exploited. So they can boycott their products. So in this way, the companies are influenced and they have to check if the farms or in the supply chains there is some child labor. All right? So this is then the answer to the previous question. Now let's move to another task according to the text. Choose the correct answer to complete the following statement. This question is about the type of text. So is it a letter, Or is it a speech? Or is it a newspaper? All right. So what are the elements that can help you know this? That can indicate whether it's a letter and a speech or a newspaper article. Okay. Now, if you are ready, the answer is a speech, of course. So, what makes me say that it's a speech is the source, of course, the reference. At the bottom of the text, it is written, statement by Mr. Guy Ryder, Director General, International Labour Organization. So, when it is said statement or lecture, it means speech. Also, there is another element in the second paragraph, I think, ladies and gentlemen. So this is one of the expressions used when giving a speech. So you have to pay attention to all these details when you read your text and before you answer this kind of questions. The next activity is true-false statements, of course. So many children all over the world are obliged to work. Okay, is it true or false according to the text? Exploited children work within a system of organizations or people. Is it true or not? Companies prefer employing children to help them. And it is impossible to control the supply chains. So the answers are, for the first one, it's true that children are obliged to work. Okay? Yes. Because they have no choice. That's it. So exploited children work within a system. Yes, it's true. So the system is the supply chains. Companies prefer employing children. Why? To help them. No, of course, not to help them. It is to exploit them. It is impossible to control the supply chain. Is it true? False. So they can go back to, they can engage social audits, for example, and they can know. Okay, it's difficult according to the text. It's a bit hard because it is becoming complicated to check or to control every stage of the production, but it's not impossible. All right. Now, answering questions according to the text. Read the following questions and go back to the text to get the answers. First question, in which fields are the children being exploited? Second, why are children targeted in labor? Okay. Next one, are employers of children punished and why? So let's see the answers in the text. So for the first one, what are the fields in the plural? So here you have to give the list simply. The fields, so child labor is found in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and tourism, producing goods and services. So these are the fields, you have to give all this list. The second one, why are children targeted in labor, in work? Why do they prefer employing children and not adult people, for example? So the answer is given in the second paragraph. The reality is that children make good sources of cheap labor, so they are not obliged to pay them a lot, because they are seen as low-skilled workers without a voice. Okay? They are weak, they cannot protect their rights, they don't know their rights, and they are considered as being low-skilled. They don't have any qualification. All right? So they don't pay them much. So the last question is, are employers of children punished and why? So according to the same paragraph, employers of children get away with it. What does it mean, get away with it? It means they are not punished. Why? Because supply chains have become incredibly complex and it is hard for companies to control every stage of the production. So these are the answers. Let's see the answers all together. So, in which field are they exploited? So they are exploited in the fields of agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and tourism, producing goods and services. For the next one, children are targeted because they are seen as low-skilled workers without a voice. Of course, here you can add also that they can pay them, give them low salaries, for example. Are employers of children punished? No, they aren't. Why? Because supply chains have become incredibly complex, and it's hard for companies to control every stage of the production. So this is all for this task. Task 5 is to identify what or who the underlined words refer to in the text. You've got 5 reference words here. Go back to the text and find the references of these words. Okay, the answer to this activity is, so for the first one, some as young as 5 are still working for their survival and that of their families. Of course, there here refers to the first word, millions of children. Okay, millions of children. So I can say for their survival and the survival of the families of millions of children. So to avoid this repetition, it is said their families. Another pronoun, I believe. So who is speaking here? Of course, it is Mr. Guy Ryder, the speaker, okay, the person who is giving the speech. And his name is written in the reference as we saw in the previous activity. So because he is giving his opinion, I believe that, and so on. So, for the next pronoun, it is hard for companies to control every stage of the production. So what is hard here? It is the phrase to control every stage of the production. As you can see, the reference here is not behind or before the pronoun, it is after, in the same sentence. Number 4 is, businesses, therefore, have an effective role to play in upholding children's rights, and so on. Demanding greater transparency in supply chains is an essential step if they want to adopt child-friendly practices. So, who are we talking about here? If they want to adopt, who will adopt child-friendly practices? Of course, the businesses, which is the subject of the very first sentence. The next one, great efforts to fight against child labor. Of course, this sentence is being used in the first paragraph, and the last part is being used in the last paragraph. Contribute in this fight by influencing the businesses to ensure there is no child labor involved in their supply chains. So, what is this fight we are talking about in the last paragraph? It is the fight against child labor, which is mentioned in the first paragraph. So you see how reference words can be used in a very wide way. You can use a word in the beginning of the paragraph and refer to it by a noun or a pronoun at the end of the text. So now let's move to another task in the text exploration for the mastery of the language and the vocabulary. Task 1 is matching each expression with the corresponding definition. So we have chosen here the most essential expressions in the text and also in the unit. Okay, child labor, supply chain, social audit, and we have added low-skilled. Now guess which definition corresponds to which expression. Read carefully every definition and then give your answer. The correction is child labor means exploitation of children at work. Okay? Supply chain is a system of organizations or people involved in transmitting a product from the supplier to the consumer. Okay? From the supplier to a company and then to the consumer, as we saw in the example of the cocoa supply chain. All right? So the next one is social audit. It means the report of the relation between the employer and employee, right? So a company, if the company wants to know who is really producing the products that are being supplied to her or to it, they can engage or commission a social audit. So after that, this inspector will write a report, okay, about the conditions, the working conditions of the employers, if there is any unethical behavior and so on. The last one is low skilled, and of course it is with little qualification. Okay, so this is all concerning meaning. Right. Now, building words. Give the opposite of the following words, keeping the same root. So whenever you have a question like this, it means that you have to keep the same root. It's in reality the same word, but you just need to add a prefix, like the example given. Possible, say impossible. Okay? So you try to do the same with the other words in the list here. So what is the opposite, or what is the prefix we can add to effective, skilled, continued, honest, essential, helpful, and respect to get the opposite of these words. And pay attention, sometimes it's not a prefix, it can be also a suffix. Let's see the answers. So the opposite of effective is ineffective. Suffix is in. Skilled, unskilled, continued, discontinued, honest, dishonest, essential, unessential, helpful, helpless. So for help there is no prefix to be used. We use the suffix. Respect, disrespect. So these are the prefixes that can be added to words to get the opposite of them. Right. Now, let's do some revision in grammar. Give the correct form of the verbs in brackets. Okay, the verbs are to be, to act, adopt, control, and keep. Now, what can help you know, put the correct verbs here? It is, of course, the connectors that are used and some expressions here in the beginning of the sentence, like this one, okay? So pay attention to every word that is used in the sentence to guess the kind of tense you need to use, you have to use. Let's correct. So the economy of the word will be better, provided that all governments act honestly. So the sentence here expresses condition with provided that, and as you know, provided that can replace if, so it should be followed by a verb in the present simple. Act should be in the present, and the result clause should be in the future. Okay, so we use it exactly in the same way as the conditional type 1. Second sentence is, we wish we could adopt child-friendly practices in our future business. So the verb we use here is could adopt. This is one of the types of the wish, expressing wish. Okay, you've got 3 types. So the sentence here expresses a future wish. How do we know? You have in our future business. So we are expressing a future wish. That's why I use would or could plus the stem. And since the subject here is we, so I preferably use could instead of would. We wish we could adopt. Okay? The next sentence starts with it's about time. Okay? It's about time to express a sort of complaint about a wrong action. All the verbs or the verbs that should be used with it's about time should be in the past simple. So we say it's about time companies controlled every stage in the supply chain. The next one, most companies wish their costs down and profits up. Okay, the answer is they kept. So there is nothing here in the sentence that indicates if it is future or what. So you put it in the past simple because you are expressing a wish about a present situation. Okay, this is about the present, so I put the verb in the past simple. Now, another kind of activities. Rewrite the second sentence so that it means the same as the first one. So pay attention to sentence B and all the prompts that are given in every sentence B here to know what you are asked to do. Okay, so for example, people should investigate before engaging in any business. So you have to start the sentence with it's high time or it's about time. So you need to put your verb in the past simple, as I said, after the subject. So you need to suppress or remove certain words in the first sentence. Okay? And you try to do the same with the others with different prompts. The answer is people should investigate. Say, it's high time people investigated. So what did we remove? We removed should. Okay, we cannot express advice with should and at the same time with it's high time. So it will be a repetition. Sentence 2. It's a pity no authority is able to check and to penalize international organizations. Here, you need to express wish. All right? So my sentence here is a wish about a present situation. That's why I need to use the verb in the past simple. So I say, I wish authorities were able to check and to penalize international organizations. The next one is, many children are forced to work at an early age. So the sentence starts with farmers. So it is just a suggested agent, which is absent in the previous sentence, okay? So normally, if I have to continue my first sentence, I would say, many children are forced to work at an early age by farmers, okay? But because it is a passive sentence, it is not always necessary to mention the agent at the end, all right? So it is suggested as a subject in this active sentence. So the verb are forced is in the present. That's why you use in the active sentence the verb forced in the present. Farmers force many children to work at an early age. Okay? The cocoa farmer regrets not having given the children their wages. Okay? Again, you are going to express wish. Now, okay, what sort of wish is it? It's clear that it's a regret. Now, is it a regret about the present situation or about the past? Not having given, this is about the past. So what tense do you think we can use here? Of course, it is the past perfect. He wishes he had, or the farmer had given the children their wages. Okay? These children should give more importance to their studies. Right? This sentence expresses advice, so it can be rewritten with had better or ought to. These children had better give, without to, okay, pay attention, ought to give more importance to their studies. Now, the next one is children were carrying very big sacks of cocoa beans. Again, another active-passive transformation. Since the sentence starts with very big sacks, right? So it is the object of the previous sentence that becomes a subject. So we need to turn it into a passive sentence. Now, were carrying is my verb. It is in the past continuous. So I keep the same tense, but I put the verb, the auxiliary to be, in the same tense. So instead of were carrying, I say were being, plus the past participle of the verb to carry by children. So you can mention the agent if it is given in a form of a noun and not a pronoun. Okay? So very big sacks of cocoa beans were being carried by children. The last sentence, we hope all children around the world will have their rights. This is a wish. Okay? So this is not something done now or that have been done in the past. So it's clear that we are talking about a future wish. So you put it in the conditional present. We wish all children around the world. Now, if it is a future wish, pay attention to the subject. If it is I or we, you put could as a model. If it is all the other persons, like in this sentence, all children around the world, this is they, okay? So you use would plus the stem for all the other persons. We wish all children around the world would have their rights. Okay, so this is all concerning grammar. Let's do some phonetics now. Classify the following words according to the stressed syllable in each of them. Okay, this will be a sort of revision for you of the sound system given to you in Unit 1. So the activity is used to be given in a different way. Okay, put the stress on the right syllable. Okay, but it has been changed into this kind with a table, first syllable. So you put the word that is stressed in the first syllable here, second one, third, and the fourth. Okay. Let's see the correction. So the first word, inspection, it is stressed in the second syllable, inspection, okay, because it finishes with the suffix tion, and all the words that finish in the suffix tion, or tion with C, or jeune with S, or ik, okay, are stressed in the second syllable from the end. Okay, from the end, you count 1, 2. Inspection. Second one is labor, stressed in the first syllable because it's a noun that contains 2 syllables, so it should be stressed on the first one. The next word is organizations. Organizations is stressed also in the second before the end. It is the penultimate syllable. Manufacturing in the third, okay? Profits in the first syllable, reality in the second syllable. So reality also can, sometimes you have a rule and sometimes you just need to guess. So concerning this one, you count 3 from the end, okay? Words that finish in T, C, Phi, for example, co, and so on, okay, it should be stressed on the third syllable from the end. It is called the antepenultimate syllable. Ensure, it's a verb that contains 2 syllables, so it should be stressed on the second, okay? Another one is unacceptable. And finally, survival. All right. So, we have put all the words in the right columns. It's okay. So the last one, the last part is a written expression. So we suggest 2 topics as usual. The first one is a semi-guided topic. Teaching ethics plays an important role in building strong nations. Write an expository essay about 80 words specifying the main actions to undertake against corruption, fraud, and other social evils. Help yourself with the following notes. So you are going to write an expository essay, and talk about the solutions, okay, that could be done to fight against corruption and fraud. So the notes that can be developed are the following: sensitize citizens, make them aware, okay, raise their consciousness about the importance of ethics. Okay, how are you going to do this? Of course, by teaching them moral values. The kind of moral values that you can teach them is integrity and honesty, and also self-respect and the respect of others. The first thing that could be done if you want to fight against corruption and unethical behaviors in general is to denounce bureaucratic malpractices. Okay? Many people are afraid of doing this, but it's the first solution. Also, fighting delays at works. Okay? Another kind of solution is to reward serious people, okay, to encourage them to do more and be as an example for others. Everything, of course, should be done by passing stringent laws to fight nepotism and bribery and other kinds of unethical practices. Another solution is to reinforce programs that teach ethics in schools, because teaching honesty for children is the best solution. All right. Now, the second topic is dialogue. Yes. Suppose you were a businessman, your friend is interested in this job, write the conversation you had with him or with her, and during this conversation, which moral values would you advise him or her to succeed in his or her business? Okay, of course, indirectly here you are going to talk about ethics in business that should be respected during when doing business with each other, and by respecting these ethics, you are going to prosper and succeed in your business. So there we are. This is the end of the lesson. Thank you for your attention. See you in another lesson.
شكرا على المشاهدة. لا تنسوا الاشتراك في القناة، الضغط على الجرس، الإعجاب بالفيديو.